bandits and kidnappers in Kaduna State. Now, the federal government says it will not spare any effort at diversifying the nation's economy using the oil and gas industry as a pivot towards expanding revenues, enhancing the gross domestic product, generating employment, and effectively contributing to eliminating poverty in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this while virtually inaugurating the National Oil and Gas Excellence Center of the Department of Petroleum Resources in Lagos. And he urged oil industry practitioners and relevant stakeholders to join his administration in the task of ensuring that Nigeria explore and exploit her enormous potentials for nation building. Details with State House correspondent Adamu Sambo.
The National Oil and Gas Excellence Center is structured to, amongst others, drive safety, value, and cost efficiency in the petroleum industry, described as critical for stability, growth, and sustainability. The center opens a new set of opportunities for investments, cost reduction, safety in operations, and capacity development. These include search, rescue, and surveillance, national improved oil recovery, oil and gas alternative dispute resolution and competence development, as well as integrated data mining and analytics.
We have no doubt that the industry now has the resource and platform to interact, cooperate, collaborate, and on salient industry issues that remains impediment to cost reduction, safe operation, and optimum value optimization.
We are confident that this center will support the attainment of Mr. President's clear development imperatives for sectoral growth and the industry's performance targets set by the Ministry for a fortified oil and gas sector.
President Muhammadu Buhari described the realization of the Excellence Center as a further demonstration that despite all odds, Nigeria's oil and gas industry has come of age.
In 2020, global economies were faced with unprecedented challenges and severe shocks in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic and the attendant consequences therefrom. However, we are emerging more resilient in 2021, owing in part to effort of the agencies of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, who work under my leadership to keep oil and gas production levels stable, optimize government revenues, and ensure domestic energy security.
Apart from serving as a hub for industry best practices, the Excellence Center will also go a long way at enhancing the contributions of the oil and gas industry to the nation's GDP, as well as strengthen Nigeria's position as regional leader.
While acknowledging our achievements, we must not relent. We must redouble our efforts and confront the challenges of global energy dynamics, resurgence of the coronavirus, unstable oil prices, and need for development of alternative energy. I therefore charge you all to rededicate yourselves to national duty and take full advantage of this excellent center to meet the challenges confronting the industry. On our part, we will spare no effort to ensure that Nigeria gets the maximum benefit from the huge natural resources.
The Oil and Gas Excellence Center, consistent with the nation's economic development and sustainability agenda, is another milestone in the Buhari administration's efforts at achieving greater value for the country. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has made a case for Nigerians to see the payment of taxes as a solemn obligation, saying that no nation has ever made progress without having to pay for it. Declaring open the first national tax dialogue, the president also insists that foreign businesses must not be allowed to continue to exploit the nation's market and an economy without paying appropriate taxes. State House correspondent Adam Musambu again reports that the event was put together by the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
The first national tax dialogue with the theme Taxation in a Post-COVID-19 Economy is a deliberate attempt by the federal government at getting insights and wisdom from a broad spectrum of the society on how best to improve Nigeria's revenue receipts for sustainable growth and development.
There is so much to look forward to in the coming years. The FRS is starting this decade with the resolve to leapfrog tax administration into the digital age. We are banking on your continuous support as we embark on this wondrous journey.
2021 is a year of recovery, a year that we will be recovering from the recession, and a year that taxpayers, both businesses and individuals, will be setting back to the path of growth.
We are starting to see a diversification of revenue, tracking the economic diversification objective of the APC government.
The African Development Bank is ready to provide needed technical and institutional support to Federal Inland Revenue Service and to Nigeria to build up its capacity for tax administration.
In his virtual address to participants, President Muhammadu Buhari made it clear that his administration is not seeking to increase the tax burden on Nigerians, but to plug existing loopholes and ensure equitable application of the tax laws.
This was clearly demonstrated by the provision of the Finance Act 2019, whereby government exempted small companies from tax and reduced the income tax rate for medium companies from 30% to 20%. We went further to cushion the burden of tax on the low-wage workers by exempting minimum wage from personal income tax.
The president, however, said with the devastating effect of COVID-19 on the economy, a debt profile of more than 32 trillion naira, as well as a tax-to-GDP ratio of about 6%, Nigeria has no alternative than to do whatever it takes towards achieving optimal tax revenue generation potential.
It is not enough that our citizens and local businesses pay their fair share of taxes. Equally, foreign businesses must also not be allowed to continue to exploit our markets and economy without paying appropriate taxes. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has my mandate to speedily put all measures in place to fully implement programs to stamp out base erosion and profit shifting in all their ramifications and generally automate its tax processes. It is therefore incumbent to do all that is required in order to efficiently collect tax revenue due from transactions carried out using local and foreign online platforms.
President Buhari directed all government agencies and business enterprises to grant the Federal Inland Revenue Service access to all their systems for seamless connection. The deployment of technology for automation, he however said, must be done in line with international best practices. From the State House, Adam Musambu, NTA News.
And the African Development Bank is offering its expertise to the Federal Inland Revenue Service to consolidate on the new reforms in tax administration. President of the bank, Akinwumi Additional, made the commitment at the Federal Inland Revenue Service first annual National Tax Dialogue held in Abuja. Benny Adams has details of that report.
With the arrival of COVID-19 and its attendant effect on the global economy, more businesses are fast migrating to digital space. making it more difficult for tax administrators to collect what is due for government as tax. To keep up with the trend and following the urgent need to raise revenue to fund budgets, the FIRS is restructuring its operations towards indirect tax collection and full automation of its operations.
International struggle for and against digital services is just the beginning of the tax race. It is a race for all nations, developed or developing. And for Nigeria, it is a must-win race.
President of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, advises the country's taxman to limit tax waivers to big corporations, intensify indirect tax, and ensure tax accountability.
Widening of the tax base while mitigating compliance risks and encouraging voluntary tax compliance. The government should focus a lot on corporate taxes and ensure full compliance. But it is important to also ensure that such taxes do not discourage investments.
President Muhammadu Buhari, on his part, directed all agencies to grant access to FIRS as they carry out their duties. The FIRS collected 4.9 trillion naira as total revenue in 2020, meeting 98% of target for the year. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
And in less than 2 weeks of the commencement of the electronic ticketing system of the Abuja-Kaduna train service, more than 35,000 passengers have accessed the portal. This was made known at the virtual launch of the system by the Minister of Transportation, Chibike Rotimi Amechi, in Abuja. Details with Oyinaya Kalu Oka.
Running of the electronic ticketing at the Abuja-Kaduna train stations, passengers have been commending the initiative and also pointing out some lapses.
It's a good system for sure, but we need to be highly oriented.
At the launch of the platform, Minister of Transportation Chibike Rotimi Amechi says the test running has enabled them to correct the errors for an efficient and transparent system.
It's a total package that also includes access control, which will be deployed subsequently. It's my belief that deploying the secure ticketing solution is in line with world best practice and will enhance efficiency, save time, and promote accountability.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation noted that the platform, which is secured, simple, fast, and convenient, has been accessed by more than 35 passengers since it started.
People have now learned that they should buy their ticket even before coming to the station, not to come and queue at the station again. So far, I think we have had over 35,000 registering on the e-ticketing.
There are multiple benefits also, but like I said, the key one is to make sure that our revenue is secure for all to see, and then all this public outcry about racketeering is over. Also, we collect data.
The electronic ticketing is in 3 phases: the web link, mobile app, and the ticketing office machine. With this platform, there is no room for refund or the use of another passenger's ticket.
You don't have to arrive at the train station 3 hours before. You can come in 45 minutes before because you've already purchased your ticket and just walk in. Once you have picked your seat on the web, that seat is not available for anybody else.
With the takeoff of the e-ticket in Abuja-Kaduna train stations, NRC announced that Lagos, Ibadan, as well as Itakpe-Warri train stations are next. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA News.
News at 10 is broadcast live from our studios in Abuja. Still coming up on the news. Presidency approves renewal of appointment of Hadiza Bala Usman as MD of Nigerian Health Authority.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Many thanks for staying tuned with the news at 10 on NTA News 24. And now, National Economic Council insists there will be no lockdown of the economy for now as a result of the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in the country. But public health measures already put in place to prevent further spread and damage will now be strictly monitored and offenders punished accordingly. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports on this and other deliberations at the council's meeting this Thursday held virtually.
An expanded National Economic Council subcommittee on COVID-19 has been interfacing with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. And one of the fallouts, as observed by the subcommittee, is the improvement in the test of suspected cases. An indication is the more than 1,000 positive cases seen on a daily basis. This increased number of positive cases is also of great concern to the National Economic Council, as explained by the Delta State Governor.
NEC, we have agreed that we need to begin to talk to our people and to talk to the religious leaders to ensure that we reduce the level of gathering that we have. We also briefed NEC and on the regulations, the Health Protection Regulation 2021 as it relates to COVID-19 pandemic prevention, which we are waiting to be signed by Mr. President.
Not only on religious gatherings, schools, banks, government and private offices and markets are all included.
The information given to us as of today is that we're expecting 100,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, COVAX, that they will be providing as promised 20 vaccines for 20% of the population over time. Nigeria, through an arrangement by the African Union, is also through the African CDC, is also making arrangements for about 10 million doses for Nigeria.
Also of great importance, as observed by the National Economic Council, is the need for oxygen availability in all health institutions where people are being attended to. Arrangements, we are told, are being made through CACOVID to add to what states are presently having. 555 million naira has also been released by the Ministry of Finance to 5 tertiary institutions to help generate oxygen. And another 6.45 billion naira is being released to the Ministry of Health to develop new oxygen plants in about 38 locations across the nation.
For the excess crude account, the balance as at 28th of January 2021 is $72,411,197.80.
NEC also resolved to engage the nation's youths at state, regional, and national levels to contribute more to finding solutions to the needs and growth of the country. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And NEC could bring us the report of the federal government's launch of a 17-man committee to develop protocols for the evaluation of herbal medicine in a bid to find lasting solution to COVID-19 and other viral infections.
At the wake of coronavirus pandemic, many traditional medicine practitioners made claims to have developed substances to cure COVID-19. The situation generated concerns in many quarters, prompting the federal government to direct its expert committee on protocols for the evaluation of herbal medicine to certify such claims.
This expert committee is drawn from various stakeholders with relevant expertise in the field of research. The inclusion of traditional medicine practitioners is a testimony to government's commitment to develop and promote traditional medicine.
Protocols for evaluation of herbal medicines will ensure the right quality of raw materials, production processes, control, packaging, transportation, and storage of herbal medicines.
With the release of 10 billion naira by the federal government to support research and production of local vaccines for COVID-19, the committee is hopeful that formal integration of traditional medicine into conventional ones will hold much promise for the future.
the huge amount of knowledge that is trapped in this country. If we're able to open them up, we won't be looking for any outside drug.
So we want government to promote us. We want government to tell Nigerians that, look, the time have come for us to begin to use our local content, our local product.
The committee also urged Nigerians to adhere strictly to the precautionary measures against COVID-19, as advised by Deputy F. In Abuja, Neka Oko, NTA News.
And as the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic continues to bite harder, there is a growing fear among people with other health challenges who may intend visiting hospitals. In this special report, correspondent Blessing Omeche Ebute examines the impacts of COVID-19 on other ailments, seeking medical attention amidst concern of contacting the virus, while others worry about neglect.
The coronavirus pandemic, which shocked the world, has left an overwhelming effect on all facets of life, with the health systems not left out. In Nigeria, the pandemic has presented a healthcare delivery dilemma with poor accessibility to and underutilization of important healthcare services by non-COVID-19 related cases.
It is the same health sector that was in existence before COVID-19 that was already overstretched that we have on ground to cater for both the COVID-19 and all of those other ailments that have been in existence. Malaria hasn't gone anywhere. Typhoid hasn't gone anywhere. Pneumonia hasn't gone anywhere. All of the various illnesses that have been in existence, they've never gone anywhere.
As confirmed cases continue to rise daily, there is a growing fear among people with other health conditions who intend visiting the hospitals. This has resulted to self-medication by some people.
Many people who has catarrh during the cold season like this, and if eventually they get to the hospital, the first thing that they will tell them or they will be, anticipating will be the COVID-19. So I think that gives a lot of people the fear of visiting the hospital, and they want to be home to be at least isolate themselves and then treat themselves.
I think they should go about their normal life and protect themselves because there is COVID-19, and they should stop being scared or afraid unnecessarily.
In spite of the seriousness of the coronavirus pandemic and the urgent response it requires, experts say other areas which the services of health professionals are needed cannot be ignored.
There's so much hype, so much hoopla around COVID-19, maybe because of features that surround transmission, high infectivity, and all of that, and especially because little was known about it because it was a novel disease. But it doesn't mean it displaced any other illness. All of them have been there, and they are still there.
They encourage persons needing medical attention to obtain such from healthcare facilities and endeavor to adhere strictly to safety protocols against the spread of COVID-19. In Makudi, Blessing Omeche Ebute, NTA News.
And still on COVID-19, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has announced 1,964 new additional cases of COVID-19 in 23 states and the FCT. The latest figures released shows that Lagos still is leading with 824 new cases. FCT has 246, Plateau 166, while Kaduna had 128. Ogun 76, Nasarawa 74, Anambra 69, Edo 50, Rivers 45, Ondo 44, Niger has 40, and Oyo State has 38 new cases. There were 35 new cases recorded in Adamawa, 31 in Kano, 27 in Akwa Ibom, 19 in Gombe, 13 in Kwara, 12 in Ekiti. Delta and Kebbi recorded 6 new cases, each as 5 were recorded in Bauchi, 4 in Ebonyi, 3 in Osun, and 1 in Zamfara State. And the active cases at the moment are 21,524 in Nigeria. So far, Nigeria has 116,655 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with 93,646 discharged, while 1,485 died of the virus. Away from the United Nations has welcomed the new U.S. administration's announcement to re-enter the Paris Agreement on climate change. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this shortly after the inauguration of Joe Biden as President of the United States of America. Adebola Brooks-Linsandi tells us more about this.
Office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
And soon after he was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States, President Joe Biden signed some executive orders which include returning the U.S. to the 2015 Paris Agreement on climate change. Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in a tweet, issued a statement of welcome in which he noted that President Biden's commitment has made it possible for 2/3 of global carbon pollution to be committed to carbon neutrality. Guterres, however, warned that there is still a long way to go as the climate crisis continues to worsen, with time running out to limit temperature rises and to build more climate resilient societies. Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, Ingrid Anderson, also expressed her warm welcome on Twitter for the U.S. re-entry into the agreement and is looking forward to working closely with the new administration to strengthen climate action. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, in November 4th, 2020, pulled his country out of the global pact. The agreement is aimed at tackling climate change by cutting greenhouse gas emissions and sets a global target for limiting the rise in average global temperatures not higher than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Adebola Brooks-Linsandi, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24 Abuja. Still up ahead. Islamic scholar secures truce with bandits and kidnappers in Kaduna State.